In 2025, I think we can safely say we're all aware of why we need to get to the zoo the very second it first opens.
Think, Twilight, think.
Because the animals are awake and doing stuff. But I think we can also safely say getting anywhere super early before it opens is a huge hassle. So today, Indiana and Connor Layne are going to put the Werribee Open Range Zoo to the ultimate test in a game of Are They Away? It's December 28. It's that Saturday between Christmas and New Year's, an hour out of Australia's largest city, Melbourne. It's a perfect 25 degrees Celsius, America, that's 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're arriving at midday. With all that in mind, we're guessing that any animal that knows what they're doing will be out for the count. The only thing in our favour is that maybe, because this zoo is open range, in other words, the animals' enclosures are giant areas resembling their natural habitats, they'll be running around more. This is in no way based on science and actually based purely on wishful thinking, but it's a theory. An animal theory. No, we're not doing that. So let's bring up the Are They Awake scoreboard, where the sleeping animals will be represented by this sleeping koala, because that's the one guarantee in any sleep-off. Koalas will always be asleep, and representing the awake animals will be this friendly-looking coffee. Obviously, not an actual animal and not something any animal other than humans would consume, but it's clearly awake. So he's it. And putting our theory to the test, straight away we head to the safari station, where Werribee Open Range Zoo's safari bus looks more like an all-terrain, one-vehicle convoy that you might find on the African savannah, which is 100% what we're looking for in today's adventure.
We're on a safari.
Super sensible point of the day straight out of the gate. If a wild animal in captivity is sleeping or chilling out, that's because it's tired, not because it wants to be yelled at or have its enclosure tapped, banged, or shaken. So while today's test is to see how many animals are awake in the afternoon versus asleep, it doesn't actually make any difference to the privilege we have in being able to see wildlife that we would otherwise have to travel to other continents to experience. And I'm very aware that I just missed our first score on the board, and despite this beautiful cheetah technically being awake, I think the fairest measure for the day will be standing or not. And this guy is absolutely closer to snoozing than showing off his ability to hit a top speed of 120 kilometres an hour. And so the camel, oryx and eland are chilling as expected. But remember, there are more animals off the safari tour, so there's time for a comeback. And the bison gets us back in the game, and is also a reminder of how lucky we are to see them here. They are purely native to North America, primarily Yellowstone National Park, where they're recovering from near extinction, reduced from around 60 million before 1870 to only around 500 individual remaining bison by 1889. Conservation efforts like the small one in Werribee and more significant programs in the US have them on the road to recovery. As you can see here, when we were lucky enough to visit Yellowstone in late 2024.
They are surrounding us.
Okay, that's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me.
Bye, buffaloes.
But that's a much longer trip than the Werribee Open Range Zoo, so we feel very lucky to see them today.
Wake up, I'm about to shake up every little thing, show you all that we can be. Come dance in my glow. Fireflies in the yard, everything's a work of art. Already got everything we need to dance in the glow. It's always in my head, you never get enough. That's how I'm feeling love. Me and my friends dance until we drop, and the good times don't stop.
How was it?
Amazing. And there's a baby rhino, and there are so many animals. I don't know how many.
So by the end of the safari tour, the scores were all tied up. And the heavens opened up, which is actually a huge exaggeration as it was such light drizzle, we probably could have kept exploring, but it was a good enough excuse for lunch. Werribee Open Range Zoo had a surprising number of excellent food options. But when there's no time for messing around studying the menu, there's only one real option.
I've got some plant-based nuggets and some yummy chips and some forks.
And a tip for the husbands, if you don't go on order, you've got no one to blame but yourself when your wife comes back with no nuggets for you. I know this because I tried to blame my wife. Then it was off to the smiling assassins of the world's waterways, the hippos. Obviously strong as, deceptively fast, and in Africa, responsible for more human deaths than lions, leopards, elephants and crocodiles combined. And despite the sign saying that they'll usually hop out of the water after dusk, this hippo was all about breaking the rules. The getting out of the water part isn't actually a rule as such, but it was cool to see him get out and go back in. Now, in a battle of sleeping animals versus those that are awake, it's ironic that the most famous and feared animal on Earth is also one of the most well-rested, which I guess makes sense because when it's go time, you need to go. Which brings us to the king of the jungle, who will absolutely be ready to go. Not now, but maybe later, because now is the resting part of the equation. But resting or not, there are a few sights on planet Earth more majestic than a 300-pound lion. This enclosure was cool too. The viewing platform was an old truck that appeared to have crashed through the glass separating the humans and the lions, which would be a whole lot less cool if that were actually the case. In fact, the theming for all the Werribee Open Range Zoo viewing areas was beautifully executed, definitely more memorable than other zoos.
Hi, my name is Kathy and I'm a gorilla keeper.
And another clever touch were these education stations designed to engage kids as colourful mobile phones dotted throughout the park.
What is down this path, Indy?
Can I run through?
We're literally trying to avoid the rain.
I think, are they censored? Yeah, they
They're censored. There's the censor there. Which, to be honest, on just about any other Aussie summer day would have been welcome relief. But today, the rainforest vibes had already been achieved by Mother Nature. But once the actual rain cleared, it began to feel more like a traditional Australian summer, particularly as we embarked on the Australian Trail, which again was beautifully themed. And much like the African animals, the Aussie ones share the same strategies around the warmest part of the afternoon. Stay up, mate, you'll get a point for the awake animals. And yeah, I get that. It's getting hot. One of the bonuses of the Australian Trail is seeing the original buildings established on this piece of land over 150 years ago, including the single most impressive shearing shed you may ever see. Before corrugated iron was brought out from Britain in the mid to late 1800s, Aussie shearing sheds were made from timber. But the Churnside wool sheds built by a pair of brothers from Scotland who immigrated in 1839 is built from bluestone. And it's as impressive today as I imagine it was back in the day. There are no animals in here, with the exception of a possum that was camping out in the rafters, which was particularly thoughtful to respect the Australian Trail theming and not set up shop in another part of the zoo representing a continent it isn't native to. But when we talk about theming, there would be few more authentic features of any park anywhere in the world. As a kid in the 80s, if we went on a bushwalk, you'd run out of fingers to count the number of koalas you'd spot. Today, we aren't so lucky. Australia's most endangered species is this beauty, with population numbers plummeting from over 8 million to now only around 30,000. So conservation programs like the one here are essential to saving one of the most unique animals anywhere in the world. And just to prove me wrong, after saying they're the sleep champions of the animal planet, this koala was doing a top job. And ironically, putting the awake animals over the top at our final stop of the day, which just goes to show it doesn't matter when you go to the zoo, and it doesn't matter what the animals are doing. By supporting ethical, accredited zoos and their conservation and breeding programs, you're helping make our planet a better place. And the zoo's helping you have the best day ever, because there's ice cream too. Well done, Werribee Zoo, for keeping Ben and Jerry's open until the very end of the day too. A lot of places don't do that. From nature parks to theme parks, from our backyard to places much further away. Hit subscribe to go on more adventures and learn more stuff with Indiana and Connor Layne.
But 10 out of 10.